We're going to move from one money conversation to another because the latest data from Stats SA shows that consumer price inflation has risen. So the price increase in goods and services has gone up, and that's to 3.5% in the month of July. That's the highest level in almost a year. Now, the gain from 3% is actually driven by food and non-alcoholic beverages, which is putting a squeeze on household budgets across the country. What does this mean then for the average South African? How can you protect your finances amidst that increase? Joining us now to break it all down, Zandile Makhoba, a consumer economist from Liberty. Zandile, it's a good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newzroom Afrika. The song is More Money, More Problems, but judging by that increase in the inflation rate, it seems like no money, more problems. Good morning.
Good morning, and you're absolutely right. You know, we are in a period where we were hoping that we would be seeing inflation continue on a downward trend, allowing us to see some ease in terms of balance sheets. But as you've correctly outlined, we are seeing increases in some of the most essential items in the expenditure basket. So food definitely being on the rise there, primarily driven by things like red meat prices, given the foot and mouth disease challenges that we've been having recently. So supply there has been an issue. But it is also beyond just the food element. So if you also look down at some of the administrated prices, we're talking here about water costs, electricity costs. The inflation on those has hit around 8-9%. Also speaking to something very essential to our daily lives in terms of electricity and water. So we are definitely starting to see a significant squeeze again in those balance sheets, with the latest interest rate cuts only providing a little bit of ease there.
It's also not just about the prices increasing, but salaries in what we call real terms, if you account for inflation, etc., also then decreasing over time. So that hasn't helped this equation. We're only affording less and things are costing more.
Yeah, so we are seeing that people are needing to really pivot in terms of how they spend. We do see a little bit of substitution effect. So people really looking at goods that are a little bit more affordable that do the same thing. In the frame of these high meat prices, for example, people might be moving towards chicken, moving towards eggs as an alternative for protein in their household expenditure. I think just with the earnings challenges, also the job numbers that we saw last week, so the economy is not generating the growth that we need for job growth to also happen. And it is forcing consumers to be a little bit creative in terms of how they spend. We are likely to see the middle class also extending themselves to supporting family members, extended family members, in order to make ends meet during these tough times.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that extension in just a moment, but I wanted to ask if in general you're seeing people then moving to store brands or no-name brands as opposed to what they've known for many years as those brands with names on it because of the high cost of everyday goods.
So there we do see a little bit of a difference. Consumers are very concerned about quality and the value that they're getting from the items that they buy. So it might be more of a bargain hunt and waiting for that special to happen so that you can buy the product that you are used to. Because we are worried about wasting. No one wants to buy, a large dishwashing liquid that doesn't do the job and doesn't last as long. So we're very conscious about how do we stretch that rand? How do we make sure that we see ourselves towards December? And it's a bit of a delicate balance there around getting the brands you love, but making sure that you get them at the special prices. And you do see a lot of retailers trying to provide specials here and there to meet consumers where they are.
Zandile, it's about December, no. So we have to get those gifts in for Christmas, and it's just, I'm just wondering whether there's going to be that kind of uptick. We already see things like the specials that come or the sales that come towards the closeout of the year, Black Friday and such, not being attended as they were previously. One begins to ask, are we in some sort of cost of living crisis?
I think it has been there, it's just a continuation of that crisis with blips of hope here and there when we do see interest rates get lowered and inflation ticking downwards. There is an upside just in terms of the numbers. Your semi-durable and durable good prices are actually reducing. Some are even so you're seeing lower inflation in those type of goods, and some are actually declining. So if you think of your food, your clothing, so your clothing, shoes, furniture, those kind of items have actually eased in terms of their pricing, possibly as a result of lower demand, as a lot of expenditure is being moved to more essential and non-durable goods. But as we are kind of hitting that festive season, people do like to shop a little more for clothing, prepare for Q1 with the back to school. Apologies. And all of that, I think, is an opportunity for consumers where possible to start planning ahead to buy those items that they do want to enjoy. And they will be enjoying those at slightly lower prices than before.
Yeah, look, I certainly hope people can continue to spend. My birthday is in 2 months' time, so it's before the financial year end or the end of the year. So we're hoping that stays as well. According to Debt Busters, Zandile, we need more than 2/3 of our salaries just to pay for debt. That means around if you take home 10,000 rand, 69,000 rand or 6,900 rand is paying off your debt. How big a problem is debt in this overall equation?
So from Debt Busters, you will see that also the debt burden does sit a lot more in your more affluent segments. So lower income earners tend to not have the same access to credit that you do see at more affluent segments. Your car buying, your house buying, it really needs a certain threshold for people to enter that space. But once you get there, your access is so much greater, and sometimes it doesn't allow a lot of control. People get to the point of, having debt 2 and 3 times higher than their salaries. It is a concern, so it does make a big difference when interest rates are going down. And a lot of people do get that sense of relief when those rates are cut, because they know it speaks to so much of their current earnings. So the debt stress is definitely something we are watching out for. And it just puts a little bit more concentration on things like your interest rate, your inflation rate, in order to see how people can manage.
No chance of an interest rate cut now, is there?
Well, with the Monetary Policy Committee very focused on remaining at that lower edge of the band. So our target is 3 to 6% for inflation. We are aiming around that 3%, according to the governor lately. So at 3.5%, it does reduce the chance of a rate cut happening. However, there are greater considerations. So a lot of what we see in the CPI numbers is driven by supply side issues. It's not a consumption driven pressure. And I think that the governor will take those numbers into consideration in terms of what happens with the interest rate. So we can't completely rule it out. But yeah, a lot of upward pressure on inflation means that, yeah, it will be more challenging for us to see those cuts.
Yeah, so if we see inflation go higher, there is less chance of the South African Reserve Bank cutting interest rates, making paying off debt a little bit easier. So doesn't look likely at this point.